Size bed did you get?
A queen.
Me too. It's the
Mm,
best.
yeah.
So much
Um,
space.
yeah, I've been sleeping on a full for a while, so that was
Hmm.
nice.
Yeah, I had two, and so had Mark up until previously. And like when I got my queen,
Mhm.
we realized how uncomfortable the full was.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say uncomfortable. It's more comfortable
Just
in the
more room.
queen.
Yeah.
And then when we would sleep at his place, we'd be like, "Ugh, I'm gonna go sleep at my place. I'm gonna sleep in
Hmm.
my bed." So he got a queen too.
I really love these Zinus frames that are sold on Amazon. First of all, the reviews are phenomenal, and then the prices are great. And the way they come is so clever. The headboard has all of the parts inside of it, so you unzip the back of the headboard, and like the legs are in there, and the wooden slates, and all the hinges and stuff. It's just
Hmm.
so fucking clever. I love it.
That is cool.
Yeah, I've
I
purchased
got
3 of them
a
now.
for my mattress, I got a mattress in a box off Amazon,
Oh, okay.
and it's super nice.
What
Nicest
brand?
mattress I've ever had.
Is it Zinus?
I don't think so.
Okay, because they do the mattresses too, and I just got one of those as well, bed in the box. And the reviews
Mm.
are so fucking good, and it's free shipping, and
Yeah, when I was originally telling people, "Hey, I guess I'm going to do this mattress in a box thing," they all looked at me like I was crazy
hmm
because it was only 250 bucks, and they were like, "Ooh, if you want a good mattress, you need to spend like at least 500." And I
yeah,
was like, I don't think so." And then sure enough, this has been the best mattress I've ever had.
yeah. I'd be curious to know which brand you did buy.
I'm looking right now.
That's also like the hot thing. It's like these Blue Aprons and Hello Freshes. Like another big competition is the bed in a box. You watch TV, like obviously there's Casper. Everybody knows that one. There's
Yeah,
like
I wasn't about to buy that shit. That's
and
too
and
expensive.
then there's like Lisa.
Also too expensive.
They're all very expensive. Yeah.
Ba-doop-ba-doo. Hey, Matt.
Hello.
What's up?
Nothing much. Just nothing.
How's class going?
That's a lot. It's just so much. Usually spend about 20 hours on homework a week.
A day. Oh.
Oof.
Yeah, a day.
That's a part-time job.
Yeah, it sucks.
Wait, are you done with classes for now?
For today, yeah.
For today. Oh, good. Yes.
Andrew, it is the Resort Sleep mattress.
Ooh.
Hmm.
I bet you feel like you're sleeping in a hotel.
It does kind of feel that way. It's got 10-inch cooling memory foam.
Oh, give me those 10 inches to lay on. Resort sleep.
Yeah, I am quite happy with it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. And I did that same day, free same day shipping from Amazon. So I
Mm.
bought all my bed linens and stuff. So they should be coming in within the next couple hours.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would bend over for Jeff Bezos. What a company.
Yeah, it's been looking like Atlanta is one of the contenders to get Amazon's next corporate office. However, I don't know. I feel like Georgia's politicians are making that an unappealing possibility for Mr. Bezos. So
Not enough tax credits.
it's not even that. It's that they're like right now, our lieutenant governor and a couple of others are threatening. They're basically threatening to block tax credits for companies that don't maintain partnerships with the NRA.
Oh,
Yeah. So, and also, I mean, we've got this bill, yet another anti-gay bill that got passed by our state Senate. Um, our governor probably won't sign it because this has happened in the past. where like the state Senate passes a bill and then all of the companies that are coming to Atlanta, because of course we're like little Hollywood now. We've got a lot of movies filming here. And like a tech bubble growing. And we have a lot of companies that threaten to leave. So every time it happens, Nathan Deal just like vetoes it. So that's probably what'll happen here. But yeah, we suck.
There was a good article about like all these cities who are bending over backwards for Amazon. And it was like an opinion piece in the New York Times or whatever. It was like, why don't these cities try hard for other things too? Why is it just Amazon? Like, why don't you try to create a better city on your own merits instead of just having Amazon? I was like, yeah, that's a good point.
To be honest with you, I don't want Amazon here. Our traffic is already so fucking bad.
All right, well, let's start. So we're already at 7:30 here. Everybody ready to hit record?
Yep.
Okay. Elisa, you there?
Uh-oh.
Elisa, you on mute? Somebody said something in the background. Maybe it was Truman.
Fired. She's fired.
Elisa, hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hey, there you are.
Hello? Hello?
So we ready?
Just one hello and back to disappearance.
Oh my god, hello?
Hi.
Hi.
What the fuck is going on?
I don't know. You
You're
tell us.
wondering the same thing.
Oh my god. Wait, it's just me?
Yeah.
Oh
I'm afraid
shit. I have
so.
no idea. I'm on Ethernet and everything.
All right, well.
Shit.
Hang on. Hang
well,
on.
I thought your mic was on mute. If it's not, then I guess we're good.
No,
Sort of.
Mike is not on mute. But that's kind of the problem, I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it seems like I'm good now.
Cool.
Yeah. It choked a little bit when you just said that, but we'll hope for the best.
Okay,
right.
well, I definitely should record myself then.
Should we start recording now?
Yeah, let's all do that. To maintain the integrity of Millennial Podcast.
There's not much of that.
Okay.
Hang on one second. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm recording.
Get out pre-show burp.
Oh, I have a revelation about burping, by the way, that I need to share with you guys. Either in After Dark or Shooting the Shit, wherever we have time.
Shooting the Shit's looking a little full, but let me throw it in the AD.
Okay. I promise you it's not a boring conversation. It is a weird conversation, but it will not be boring.
We enjoy your weird conversations.
All right.
Yeah.
Matt's like, I could take it or leave it.
Hey, Matt and or Elisa, did you guys decide if either one of you wants to take that first portion of the game?
So
What is it?
It's basically a fill in the redaction thing from the Democratic memo.
I don't. My only question about that is, I don't understand what the first redaction is, or what could even possibly go there. So, like, George Papadopoulos revealed blank that individuals. Is that just like a date?
George can make something up.
Just make it. It's like Mad Libs.
I know, but I just mean grammatically. I don't understand what could possibly go there besides a date.
Well, that's the fun of it. Just make it work.
All right. Okay.
Well, I can. Lauren and I can go first, and then you'll probably have a better sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you recording?
Yes, I am recording.
Okay. Everybody's recording?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. Here we go.
Live to tape.
Welcome to Millennial Season 4, Episode 8. I'm Andrew.
I'm Elisa.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Matt.
Matt's final episode. How does this feel, Matt?
Oh, it feels fucking great.
Well,
I don't know. It hasn't sunk in yet.
Yeah. Well, so to send you off with a bang, each of us will be banging you tonight, and then we will be listening to some voicemails, and we have some emails from listeners who want to say farewell to Matt.
Aw.
But first, I thought we could also play a little game throughout the episode. So we all know Micah's iconic live to tape. This has been on the show since he left.
Live to tape.
Okay, it's become a part of the intro. So I thought that since you are now leaving the show, we could have you add in your own live to tape thing after Micah's. So it'll be, live to tape, and then it's you saying something quick. Now here's the game. You can come up with whatever you want, but it has to be family friendly. We can't have a new listener tuning into the show and hearing, I love cocks. Like, that's a bad way to start off a new listener experience. So just a couple of words, and you can insert them whenever you want throughout at any point in tonight's main show. But you can't tell us what those words are. And we're going to have to find them and decide what you wanted in the show. Now, to increase your chances of something you want in the show being in the show, you can maybe throw in a few phrases, but just make it quick, make it snappy, make it family friendly. And then we'll insert it into beginning with, I guess, next week's episode.
Okay. And it can't like sound like it's out of context or anything, I'm guessing, right? Because
it can, I guess, but I guess we're not supposed to necessarily know, so
okay.
Do whatever feels right.
So,
yeah.
So just
we're
don't
doing it at the butt. Oh, okay.
And then we actually have another request. This actually came from the Facebook group. You know how I have this clip of Micah saying yes?
Yes.
People are requesting that we have a clip of you saying no. So we can use both of them throughout the course of the show in the future. So can you just do a couple different no's right now?
It's going to sound really weird because I don't usually say no. It's not a word I say that often.
Just give us a couple different versions of it. Maybe an angry no, a nice one, whatever.
Okay. You want me to do it right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll do the angry one.
No. No.
Oh no. That was from Get Out. It's a little nod to the movie.
Oh, that was good.
No. No, sir.
Okay. I think we've got enough.
I like that one a lot.
We're gonna need to have Micah come back and record a gay no. No. I mean, yes.
I don't think Micah is capable.
You just elongate the A part. Yes.
Anyway, all right. Well, Matt, we'll get to the goodbyes from the listeners later in the show. Elisa, you had something to tell us.
Oh, I just wanted to talk about how awesome I am. My boyfriend's birthday is actually tomorrow, and I set up a surprise Dungeons and Dragons party for him this past weekend. And I just wanted to talk about it because I thought it was fucking incredible. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons now for about, I would say, close to a year, maybe 10 months or so. And we always play online because everyone lives so far apart. Like, our Dungeons and Dragons group is spread out throughout like the East Coast. And you know, I've enjoyed it, but it's really kind of hard to stay focused sometimes when you're online. Playing in person was a whole different experience, and my boyfriend's always wanted to do it. He's only done it once before, many, many, many years ago. So for his birthday, I brought in like the entire D&D group. Some folks like live in Massachusetts, others in Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I mean, they're spread out all over the place. And without him knowing, for the past 3 months, I was organizing them coming into town. The hotel room, I booked like a reserved space at a bar for us to play. I got a birthday cake. I even made custom t-shirts with all of our like character names on the back, and it said like Brian's birthday 2018 on it. We went all out, and it was an amazing time. And when my boyfriend walked in Friday night to the big reveal, he thinks that we're just going out to a bar, and then there are all of his friends, our whole D&D group. I have like, you know, the board set up and all of our little miniature figurines and like the monster manual and like everything. And he turned bright fucking red. I mean, like tomato sauce red. I didn't know he turned that color. I've never seen him that shade before. Because he was just, I guess, the center of attention, and it was a little shocking, like genuinely shocking for him. But
that's amazing.
Anyway. Yeah,
that's
it turned
amazing.
out
That's awesome.
it turned out so fucking well, and I enjoyed myself. I mean, forget his birthday. It was just incredibly fun.
So Dungeons and Dragons is a card game?
No, so it took me a while to understand this too.
It's a lifestyle. I mean, it is.
The best way to describe it is that there is, and this sounds weird, okay, but just roll with it. There's a dungeon master, and basically the dungeon master, or your DM for short, he's the storyteller. He creates the entire narrative. He's writing a story, usually of his or her own making, and then you play a character in that story, and the entire game revolves around rolling dice to see what kind of decisions you're going to make and how the story is going to unfold. So it's role playing. I, for instance, role play as a druid who's like very in touch with nature, and my whole purpose in life is to, you know, save the world from plastics.
It's kind of a stretch.
Of course.
This is not a joke, by the way. I'm being dead fucking serious. Like, this is my character.
So wait a second, though. You're playing on a computer? I'm confused because you said you went to a bar to do this.
So normally we play on the computer, and we just
Oh my
play
god,
over
you guys
something.
went out in public for this.
We went in fucking public, and we rolled like 20-sided die, and we were like, "Oh my god, you get inspiration! That's so incredible!" And it was really nerdy and amazing. But like normally online, how we play is through like just like an internet website called Roll20, and it, you know, we get on Skype. We talk through there, and like the website Roll20 allows you to roll virtual dice, and so that's how we play online. But the game is designed to be played in person, where you have a map in front of you. Like imagine like a Lord of the Rings Middle Earth style map, and you put your figurine, which represents your character, on the map wherever you are, and you're telling a story. But your dungeon master is like the author of the story, and then you are a character like Frodo, Sam, whoever, and you have to make decisions, and you roll dice to see how your decisions unfold.
This sounds a lot like Settlers of Catan,
No.
but
Not super.
with
Not
extra
really.
die.
Well, that's awesome. I'm sure that scored some major points for you. And it was his birthday. That's interesting. Or his birthday's coming up. That's interesting because you just had your birthday. Was the D&D party like on your birthday or something? Or?
Yeah, actually, it was the big reveal. The surprise party was on my birthday, which he was super pissy about because he's like, "Oh my god, you're ruining your own birthday." I'm like, "Yeah, woe is me. I'm getting drunk and playing D&D. That's terrible." But it was an awesome birthday for myself as well.
Good.
Yeah. Well, you had to get him back for last year.
That's what I said. So last year, everyone might recall that he and Laura conspired to surprise me. And Laura came up here for my birthday. And in return, what did I do for his birthday? I took him to a fucking movie. That was it. So I get my best friend coming into town. He gets a movie. So this year I knew I had to get him back.
I can't get over that you call somebody a dungeon master. Like, that's the nerdiest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Dude.
A few months ago, Elisa was like, oh, yeah, I can record it this time, maybe, but I got to speak to my dungeon master first. I'm like, what the fuck? Dungeon master? Who's controlling you? Do you need help?
You know what's funny about that, too, is my very first date with my boyfriend. We've only known each other about 20 minutes at this point, in person at least. And 20 minutes in, he just sort of casually tells me, he's like, yeah, so just by the way, I'm a dungeon master. And I'm like, whoa. And I had no context for this shit. I didn't know anything about D&D. I'm like, what the fuck are you telling me right now? Of course, he explained it, and I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. But my first thought was, this is about to go like 50 Shades of Grey style shit. I don't know what's happening, but yeah, he opened with that. That's his opener.
That's amazing.
That's pretty incredible, I have to say. I do have to ask,
It's weird.
at what point in your game did the Demogorgon get out? This is important.
Yeah, what happens if you die like halfway through the game? Do you still have to sit there?
No, first of all, we don't have a Demogorgon in our campaign.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
No, first of all, the dungeon master kind of decides whether or not you die. He can just choose to incapacitate you or knock you unconscious. So it's at his discretion, and oftentimes he takes mercy on us. But if you do die, like actually die, usually you just create a new character or find some way to resurrect, but usually just create a new character.
All right.
Anyway, we can move on now. I'm sorry.
Quick shout out thing on the at the end of last week's episode, I asked for recommendations concerning PS4 games because I was planning on buying it. So I did dive deeper into credit card debt, and I bought a PlayStation 4 Pro, and I bought Overwatch, which I haven't started playing yet. Watch Dogs 2, which is the game I was trying to describe at the end of last week's episode, but couldn't remember the title of, and Zero Horizon Dawn. This game is the one I've been playing so far, and it's so fucking good. And it's kind of like Zelda because it's like it's open world and it's this beautiful natural landscape mixed with these tech beasts of sorts. So I'm like a day into playing it, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And oh my god, are the PlayStation 4 graphics beautiful compared to the Nintendo Switch? It is a big step up.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, the Pro is beautiful. I have one as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Andrew, you and I are going to have to connect.
Oh my god,
the PlayStation Network, so we can like chat while we play games and shit.
Yeah, that'd be fun. This is gonna start really getting nerdy. I also bought a 4K TV, which I'm setting up tomorrow. And the reason I bought the PS4 Pro was because it can kind of upscale to 4K. So I'm really excited to see what it looks like on that.
Elisa, you and I can play with our dungeon masters.
Okay, let's move on to some news. So last week we spoke about the shooting in Parkland, Florida. And the discussion has now turned to what we do to prevent this type of thing from happening again. Now, a lot of liberals and a lot of people who are okay with the Second Amendment, but want to just tighten up the Second Amendment, say more background checks, more mental health care, et cetera, et cetera. But a talking point that's been coming out of the NRA, and now, unfortunately, the president, is to arm teachers with guns. And here is a moment from Trump on camera on February 22nd.
We have to harden our schools, not soften them up. A gun-free zone to a killer or somebody that wants to be a killer, that's like going in for the ice cream. That means that nobody has a gun except them. Nobody's going to be shooting bullets in the other direction. One of the fake news networks, CNN last night, was saying, I want teachers to have guns. I don't want teachers to have guns. I want certain highly adept people that understand weaponry, guns, if they really have that aptitude. Because these people are cowards. They're not going to walk into a school if 20% of the teachers have guns. It may be 10% or maybe 40%.
Oh.
And what I'd recommend doing is the people that do carry, we give them a bonus. We give them a little bit of a bonus. But active shooter drills is a very negative thing. I'll be honest with you. I mean, if I'm a child and I'm 10 years old and they say, we're going to have an active shooter drill, I say, what's that? Well, people may come in and shoot you. I think that's a very negative thing to be talking about.
This is so bizarre. He's for guns in school, but against active shooter drills because those are too scary. But guns in school with teachers, oh, that's okay.
But he also says he doesn't want teachers to have guns. He wants people who are trained to handle a firearm and has the training to. He's describing a police officer, or he's describing security.
But then 30 seconds later, he says teachers with guns after saying not teachers with guns. Highly, he uses some aptitude or something. He wants teachers to have guns, and it's bullshit for so many reasons. Should I get into them now, or does anybody want to react to this stupid clip?
I mean, I just wonder if anybody has envisioned what it would look like to arm teachers. Let's say worst case scenario, we have armed teachers and God forbid a gunman comes into a school. Now you have bullets flying in two fucking directions. Good job. That's certainly going to make things safer.
So I have had a few questions about this. I've been thinking about this because in last week's After Dark, when we called a bunch of our listeners, I had brought up that my sister teaches first grade and my mother is in that same school as a secretary. So she's kind of on the front lines. She lets people into the school through the buzzing system. So I've been thinking about this. And first of all, how would this affect teacher and student relations, knowing that one of them has a gun in the classroom? Second of all, the good guy with a gun in a school thing doesn't always work. As we found out in the past week, the armed guy, I think he was a police officer, was on the campus, did not go into the school when the shooter started attacking. He was too scared. So that doesn't always work. How about high schools? They're big campuses. If the shooter starts shooting in the C wing and the teacher with a gun is in the A wing, that's not going to stop the guy. And then how about this? The teacher has to shoot a fucking child.
Yeah, I mean, we already expect so much from our teachers already, and we don't even pay them enough money. So, this should not be something that teachers should consider when, or people should consider when getting into the career of education.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to say this. I used to be a teacher. I taught third grade for a short period of time and realized that I didn't have the right personality for teaching children that young. And what I can say about kids that young is they are all over the place. It's like trying to herd cats. So imagine a bunch of panicked 8-year-olds in an active shooter situation. And then envision yourself as the teacher who now has the weapon. And it's now your job to actively defend those students with a weapon. You're automatically putting yourself and those students at greater risk just by virtue of having that. To Andrew's point about how that would impact student-teacher relations, I think anybody who has studied anything about educational pedagogy would say that knowing that your teacher has a gun would greatly impact your motivation in the classroom. Because if you have children who have certain issues that they're dealing with at home, like let's say that maybe they live in a neighborhood where gun violence is a distinct reality and they see the horrible things that guns can do on a daily basis, or say that there's a gun in their home and they think that they're comfortable handling a gun because of that. And now all of a sudden they have access to one in the classroom.
Right.
And also,
Putting a gun
not
in the
just like element,
classroom is not positive for students.
but not even just like elementary schools, but like think about like high schools as well. Like kids are horrible, like especially when they're going through adolescence. And just knowing the idea that every teacher on campus would have a protected firearm with them, like one of the objectives now for kids is like, let's try to steal Mr. So-and-so's gun, or let's try to take it.
Right.
Like it's
Yeah.
it's just basically a free for all for teenagers to get access to guns.
This is the president of the United States suggesting that public school teachers, who are just incredibly underpaid as it is, he's volunteering our public school teachers for bodily harm, injury, potentially death. That's his solution to gun violence in this country, is to say, you know what, here's my proposal. How about our public school teachers sign up to get themselves killed? That's the solution. This is supposed to be this position of power in the White House is supposed to be one of the most serious, thoughtful, policymakers in the developed world. And that's his suggestion. It's absurd. And it's absurd that we even have to sit here, that anyone has to sit there and enumerate the reasons why it's absurd. I think we all know inherently that this is madness. And it's crazy that we have to sit here and disseminate that. The fact it's not teachers' jobs, number one. That's the most important thing. We have police officers and first responders who go through years and years of training to get to the point of being able to respond to active shooters. And yet we're supposed to ask our, art teacher and our history teacher, who make pennies on the dollar, to just take that up tomorrow. That's ridiculous. But that aside, the insult that it is to teachers aside, logistically it makes no sense, because now you have plainclothes individuals carrying a gun in an active shooter situation. The cops come in, and how are they supposed to, in the heat of the moment, in panic, how are they necessarily supposed to determine which plainclothes person with the gun is the shooter and which one's the teacher trying to stop the shooter?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now you just have more bullets flying all over the place. It's only going to lead to more fatalities. And I just can't get over the fact that I have to explain that to anyone, and that has to even be said. I feel like this is, to me, in some ways, this is the real story. The real story is the fact that once again, Trump has gotten the entire country to sink to his level and to even humor these thoughts. Yes, the majority of us are sitting here saying how crazy and ridiculous it is, but it should be so absurd that we laugh at it and then move on. That's how absurd it is. The fact that we have to have like fucking town hall debates and articles upon articles and reporting and whole conversations with one another as a nation about it is a waste of our breath.
I know. It's so frustrating we have to even talk about it.
Well, and I think it boils down to the fact that, unfortunately, much of the people who are on the Republican side of the aisle in American politics right now don't actually care for a solution, because the solutions that might actually impact something are going to cost them money one way or the other. So it turns into a discussion about, okay, well, you don't want to change gun laws, then we have to start upping our school infrastructure so that schools can withstand these kinds of attacks. So looking at a school in Indiana, by the way, Real School has implemented a very sophisticated anti-shooting type system where they have cameras all over the school that allow them to monitor at all times. They have smoke bombs installed in the ceilings that actually spray down like a blinding smoke that like burns the eyes of somebody who's wandering in the hallway who shouldn't be there. The sheriff's office can know automatically when an intruder enters the building because they have a direct line to see all of that. They also have a panic room style thing in their office where somebody can be monitoring those cameras all over the school to report directly to the sheriff's office who's wandering around and what's happening. And the cost of all of that for that one school was $400,000. And I guarantee you, they don't want to spend that kind of money. So really, this just boils down to money. They don't want to spend the money, and they also don't want to give up their generous donations from the NRA. That's it.
Yeah, it does really come down to the NRA. I want to include this piece of feedback from one of our listeners, Diana. She said, I'm a middle school teacher. I teach 3 subjects and have 180 students. I do as much as I can with the little resources I am given. To some of my students, I am a part-time counselor. To others, a substitute parent. Some might need a sounding board, a meal provider, etc. I try, and I try so hard. Now these fuckers have the fucking audacity to tell me I have to add basically a weapon-wielding vigilante to that already exhausting list. They can fuck right off.
Agreed.
I'm so curious what my sister is thinking about this. Like I said, she's a first grade teacher because her husband is very pro-Trump. He's also pro-guns. I've been so tempted to write on her or my mom's Facebook wall, so what AR-15 has Trump bought you?
No, yeah, I cannot imagine what those discussions must be like in her home.
She, I think, avoids politics. That's what I've heard from my mom, because she knows that our side of this family is split from his side of the family. So she tries to avoid it. But now those politics are coming into her life. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, Laura, tell us about that, the backlash to the NRA.
Yeah, so numerous companies have announced that they are pulling partnerships with the NRA. Previously, these companies' partnerships would allow registered NRA members to get discounts. One of those companies is Delta. They recently announced that they will no longer be providing an NRA discount, and people are kind of losing their minds over it, including Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle of the great state of Georgia. He tweeted today, I will kill any tax legislation that benefits Delta unless the company changes its position and fully reinstates its relationship with the NRA. Corporations cannot attack conservatives and expect us not to strike back, I guess it said. Which is funny because Delta is based in Georgia, you fucking idiot. It's like literally... pun intended, shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Because Delta employs something like 30,000 people in the state of Georgia, brings the state a ton of revenue. It's like, why?
It's
people
crazy.
Are stupid.
So yeah.
Right.
By the way, Casey Cagle is running for governor in Georgia. So if you're a Georgian, don't vote for this motherfucker. I recommend Stacey Abrams. She's awesome. NPSA.
Skip your kegels.
What do you want to talk about, Elisa?
So Iceland is about to make some history. They're set to become the first European nation to ban male circumcision. The law will impose a prison sentence. This isn't just a penalty. This is no joke. The law will impose a prison sentence of up to 6 years for anyone who performs a circumcision without a clear medical need. Religious leaders are decrying this law as being discriminatory and, quote, a dangerous attack on religion and something that will make life for Muslims and Jews unsustainable in Iceland. Currently, it's worth noting, 1 in 3 boys worldwide are circumcised for religious or cultural reasons. Iceland argues that male circumcisions are little different from female ones, which are already banned throughout all of Europe, and that circumcision in general violates the child's rights to their own body and infringes upon the United Nations Convention on Children's Rights. Now, the government does acknowledge that parents have the right to give religious guidance to their children, and however, such a right can never exceed the rights of the child. Boys who wish to be circumcised for religious or cultural reasons may do so when they reach an age at which they can, quote, understand what is involved with such an action. So I think we've talked about circumcision in the past on the show briefly, but I think we're really seeing a shift here in the way that it's manifested in terms of laws. We have cultural conversations, but this is actually, a law that's going to impose a prison sentence on folks who do it. So I thought this was worth noting. Certainly not something that's being covered mainstream. So I don't know. I'm fascinated by this, and I have pretty set feelings on the matter, but I wanted to get your guys' thoughts. And first of all, who here is circumcised?
Well, I know you are, Elisa, and I know I am. I think all of us are circumcised.
Hell no.
Yeah, let me decide what I do with my foreskin and my child's foreskin. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I was just gonna say it's the cool thing to do in America, and I don't think it'll ever change here.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it a cool thing to do?
I think it is a.
I think we do it strictly because we have it done on ourselves.
Well, I think
we talked about this too. Like a lot of we talked about this in a previous season, and I think we even mentioned a study where most of the men that were interviewed about why they circumcised their child was mainly because they were circumcised when they were born.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's certainly, for instance, I have male family members who are significantly younger than me. I was, in my teens when like my cousins were born. So this isn't weird. I just know this because I was like 13 when they're born. But I know for a fact that like they were circumcised because I remember that happening. And my family's not religious at all. There was no religious reason for doing it. There was no medical reason for doing it. It was purely just, this is kind of like the thing to do. And it's just what seemed natural and normal, bizarrely enough. But I guess the question is, where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line between a cultural or religious phenomena and, bodily autonomy? Because I think all of us can agree that a child, like a child has or should have some autonomy over his or her body to the extent that they're not mutilated, at least, if your mother puts on like a ridiculous, embarrassing hat or pigtails, then, you just have to live with it. That's like a completely different thing. But when we're talking about mutilation or surgery, even any kind of medical modification to a body, shouldn't children's rights supersede that?
But like, what's the solution here? Because you get circumcised at birth. If you don't get circumcised, does a doctor come to you at 15 and is like, all right, kid, do you want to be circumcised? And then you're like, fuck no, I don't want to be cut off. I'm 15.
Well, right. Well, I think what Iceland is saying is that, yeah, basically that you're not allowed to be circumcised until you are of age and you can make that decision for yourself. And at that point, you can be anesthetized. You can be made numb so that you don't feel it, which, by the way, they generally do not do for babies.
Yeah, which is absurd.
Which is super I mean, it's torture. It's super fucked up. We would never accept that in any other capacity. But what Iceland is saying is yeah, you can do it yourself or go to a doctor and have a doctor do it for you if you reach 18 and you decide, yeah, for cultural and or religious reasons, I want this done to me. That is and should be acceptable. The question is, should parents be able to impose that on, a 1-week-old infant?
I have really mixed feelings on this because on the one hand, if I ever had a son, I would absolutely not circumcise him. Because as we've already established, there's really no medical reason to do it. I'm not religious.
And it does cut a lot of nerve endings.
Right. And so it actually does impact some of the sensitivity of the penis. But like, we don't live in the desert. We are much cleaner now than we used to be. The justification for a long time for circumcision on males was that it was a way of remaining clean. It made it easier to keep things downstairs clean and avoid infections and stuff like that. Right, but we don't live in that society or in that world anymore. So as Matt said earlier, it's just something that has been passed down from generation to generation because dads think that their sons should look like them. And I mean, it's not an illogical thought. I mean, if you are operating within the confines of a historical tradition that has been passed on to you over thousands and thousands of years, it doesn't make you a bad person for sort of bowing to that and circumcising your child. But I think that now we're having the conversation, we're coming to this realization as a society that we don't really know why we do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Perhaps we should be open and at least saying, you know what, I don't personally have a problem with it, but I recognize it's fucking weird. I feel like if we got that far, it would at least mark some progress.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of jail sentences, I don't know about that. I think this is so ingrained in culture for some people that all of a sudden flipping the switch like that and saying this thing that has been done for thousands and thousands of years, all of a sudden you're going to get put in jail for doing, even though for you it may be an ingrained rite of passage, you know? So I don't know. I think it's fucking wrong. I would never do it.
I'm kind of okay. I guess for me, the logical conclusion to my sentiments on the matter make me okay with the jail sentence, because my view on circumcision is that forced circumcision on a child or someone who's underage, forced circumcision, regardless of gender, is mutilation. That is genital mutilation. Forgetting this conversation, if you were to just at random one day, for whatever unknown reason, look up genital mutilation in the dictionary and read the definition, and then a few days later ponder that, you would realize, hey, fuck, this is literally the textbook Webster's definition of genital mutilation. And we don't accept it in females. We don't accept it in females. And by the way, I'm not talking about circumcision of the clitoris, which is objectively different. I am saying that, for example, the whole argument about cleanliness can well be applied to the female labia. And if you were to, and trust me, women's junk can get just as unhygienic as men's, and it would be much easier from a cleanliness perspective to not have a bunch of folds flapping around down there. So why aren't we okay with snipping that off of young little girls?
I think,
and so therefore, if we're not okay with it for little girls, we should not be okay with it for men, and vice versa. There should not be a double standard here. And if we accept that is genital mutilation, then the natural conclusion is that it should be illegal. That's the natural conclusion.
I think what, at least how I can vindicate the whole jail sentence thing, is that since it is the law now, that since if it goes into law, that means that no hospital or at least medical professional is allowed to conduct a circumcision on a child until that child becomes of age and decides for themselves. So if at any point if any parent wants to give their child get them circumcised before they turn that age, they have to go to like a third party or somewhere that is not that's not clean, or could have very serious medical side effects, and that would technically be mutilation, and so that would be like a criminal offense to their child.
Well, and that's how a lot of people who do this for religious reasons do it. I know that oftentimes they won't necessarily have their children circumcised in a hospital because circumcision is a religious ceremony in a lot of cultures. So usually it'll be
Right. Well,
performed.
the Jewish faith, especially.
Right.
Yes.
It'll
Like
be
it's called a
performed.
bris.
Yeah. It'll be performed by whatever religious council they have in their temple or mosque or wherever it is that they practice. So I agree. I don't think that that kind of stuff should be happening outside of a medical setting. What I do want to say is that I have a little bit of a problem with comparing male circumcision to female circumcision. Not to say that male circumcision is better than female circumcision. I agree that they are both forms of genital mutilation. But I think the reason that a lot of people aren't quite as squeamish about male circumcision is because it does not have the long-lasting negative effects that female circumcision has. Female circumcision makes sex painful for women for the entirety of their lives. Male circumcision doesn't do that.
It can if you remove the entire labia, but just like with male
the purpose of male circumcision is for like health purposes.
Well,
and
I was
female
gonna say,
mutilation is to punish the woman from having any pleasure during sex.
I'm saying that I'm saying that oftentimes female circumcision is mistaken for example, in instances where the clitoris has been cut off. That is not comparable to what we're discussing because that's just not comparable. I'm just saying labia versus foreskin. In both cases, neither of them provide like inherent a lot of sensation, and snipping them off doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of difference. Laura's point is that it does make a difference because snipping off all your labia can make sex very painful. That's true if you take off all the labia. But just like with male circumcision, you know, you can go halfway. You can be half circumcised as a male. You can also be half circumcised as a female, in which case the pain is not really so much of a factor. So I know it's, you know, they're inherently different genitals. It's not 100% apples to apples, but I think it's close enough. I just think that, especially as insofar as the law is concerned, we shouldn't have one law for men and one law for women, or vice versa. Period.
Victor, who's listening live on patreon.com/millennial, says, I had to get one when I was 16 for medical reasons. It was one of the most physically painful experiences of my life.
Oh, God. Yeah, because you're 16, too. Like, you're going through all of these hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I remember when I was 16, like, I bump into a wall and I get a hard-on. So, I mean, the whole point, I think, like, you can't get an erection while you're coming out of recovery from that.
Well, yeah, I would imagine not.
Because they just keep tearing.
Angel says, I'm against circumcision, but like Victor said, if you need to get it done as an adult, it's super painful and you remember it for life. That's the only reason I think it's better as a child. You don't remember it. I have to agree with that point. I think it's none of us remember it. So it's good that it happens then, no matter what your position is on it. And I think the other thing is, for dads making that decision, I'm not so sure it's completely about what I have, my son should follow me. It's also just like normal. It's perceived as normal. That's the look. That's what you do.
Right. It's normal because that's what dad has, and that's what dad's dad had, and his dad, and so on and so forth.
And all these guys I see in porn, that's what they have mostly. Mm-hmm. Some uncut.
I do want to say, the last thing I want to say is, because I know I've gone hard on this because I do have strong feelings about, you know, mutilating infants, but I think I do want to say, in all fairness, freedom of religion and religious liberty is a bedrock democratic principle. We should not be curtailing it lightly, ever, for any reason. Even as someone who's not religious at all, like myself, recognizes that a free society must carefully and with your life uphold religious liberty and everyone's right to practice their conscience. But with all rights, there is a limit. All rights are limited in some way. As liberals, we talk constantly about how Second Amendment rights should be limited. You have the right to free speech, but you can't yell fire in a crowded room. There are classic examples like that. Religious liberty must be upheld, even by those who aren't religious, such as myself. I don't want to make light of that at all. So I hear their complaints, and I think they're valid concerns. But I also think we need to acknowledge that every right that we have is limited, and religious liberty is no exception to that. And I think it's completely fair to draw the line at forced anything, frankly, on another human being.
That's amazing.
I think that saying any kind of forced cosmetic surgery on a child is just not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, what is foreskin removal if not cosmetic? I mean, we've already touched on that. Andrew said it's the look. We know it's not medical.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I also want to add in a disclaimer here. There is nothing wrong with having a circumcised penis. I know that sometimes I feel like when this discussion comes up, I always feel kind of bad because living in the US, I feel like most of the men that I know probably are circumcised because that's what's in here. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. This isn't about making you feel shame about your penis.
Yeah. Don't circumshame me, Laura. Don't appreciate it.
I don't think Lincoln was circumcised because in his speech, he was like, foreskin and 7 years ago.
We have one more story we want to talk about, and we're going to attach a game to it, which will be fun. But I do want to tell you about this week's sponsor. They are Aura Organic. Aura Organic creates ridiculously nutritious and delicious supplements that are better for people and the planet, which is right up Elisa's alley. Aura was created by and for healthy foodies to replace synthetic supplements with nutrients from organic and sustainable sources. That means omega-3 from microalgae and protein from plants. And because they love food, Aura has their own chef who creates delicious flavors for their products. Aura's products are made in California and are vegan, organic, gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, non-GMO, and sustainably sourced. I've been using their vanilla protein powder in the past couple weeks to get myself back together in terms of getting in shape. And So Lean, So Clean, that's what they call it, is vegan and USDA certified organic protein powder with over 20 different organic superfood ingredients. This vegan protein has complete amino acid profile and a full spectrum of digestive enzymes to aid in digestion and bioavailability. So it's super nerdy stuff, super good for you. It's perfect for busy professionals, moms and dads on the go, athletes, students, and health junkies. Plant-based protein supports normal bodily function, muscle recovery, and growth, which makes it a great post-workout snack, or just blend with some banana and plant-based milk and voila! Breakfast is served. Try Aura Organic with 15% off your first order when using the code MILL at aura.organic. Thank you to Aura Organic for their support of the show. So we got a follow-up to the big memo, big quote-unquote story with part 2, huh, Laura?
Yes. So y'all might remember that, as Andrew said, we talked about the Nunes memo a couple of weeks ago. This was the memo released by House Republicans whose intention it was to discredit our intelligence agencies and prove that the FBI and the Justice Department unfairly targeted the Trump campaign for surveillance due to anti-Trump bias. Well, the Democrats have finally been given room to respond with their own heavily redacted memo after President Trump initially blocked its release 2 weeks ago. In addition to actually backing itself up with sources, this memo was several pages longer than the 3-page Nunes memo, and it worked to debunk some of the claims that were made point by point. So just to go over a few quick takeaways here, this memo claimed the Steele dossier did not inform the FBI's decision to begin its investigation in July of 2016. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. This was one of the main accusations that the Nunes memo made, was that this dossier that was obtained by the DNC and the Clinton campaign in order to discredit Trump they were basically trying to argue that the FBI based its decision to open this investigation on DNC obtained information. And that's not true because the investigative team actually didn't receive the memo until 7 weeks after the investigation had begun.
Oh.
Yep. So that was a bit of an oops. The Nunes memo also contains falsehoods according to this memo, which are contradicted by classified documents, which Nunes, as House Intelligence Committee chair, was allowed to read, but reportedly opted not to. And again, this is something that is cited and sourced in the Democrats' memo. You can look it up. It's a really quick read. Not quite as quick as the Nunes memo, but you can't have everything.
Zing.
Another thing is that Carter Page had an extensive record of doing something redacted. We don't know what. It's crossed out. Prior to joining the Trump campaign, and that he had lived in Russia from 2004 to 2007 and had been recruited by a Russian intelligence officer for doing something redacted. And also that the Justice Department did not request a warrant to surveil him until a few months after Carter was no longer part of the Trump campaign. So this was another one of the accusations that was made in the Nunes memo, that he was specifically targeted for working on the Trump campaign. And it looks like it was actually more to do with his previous interactions with the Russian intelligence community. And finally, the fourth major claim that this memo purports to prove wrong is that the FBI and the Justice Department were transparent, the memo says, about Christopher Steele's background, reporting history, source network, and likely biases. The Nunes memo tried to claim that they sort of hid Steele's background when they were requesting warrants to surveil Carter Page and George Papadopoulos. And it turns out they were pretty transparent about those things when they went to court to request that warrant. So sorry for the info dump, but that's kind of the main takeaways that I got from reading it. I don't know if y'all had a minute to read the memo as well, wanted to react.
I tried and I fell asleep after the first 3 sentences. I just don't care about this memo drama because as soon as that first one came out, the Nunes memo came out, there was nothing in there that was very interesting. And Trump was grasping at straws, going like, it totally vindicates me. The FBI blows ass. And then we all, sort of moved on. So
but that's also the thing that kind of worries me is I didn't really put too much stock into reading it because this stuff happens so often now that once I read it, what good is it going to do? There's going to be something else that, should be shocking, but it's not because we're getting desensitized by it all.
Yeah, I think the point here is that none of this is shocking.
Should be.
Well, I mean, the real point of this memo that the Democrats released was to defend our intelligence community because the Nunes memo was effectively trying to destabilize any confidence that we, the American people, have in those communities and trying to call into question the legitimacy of the Russia investigation. So the point of this memo is to go point by point through the Nunes memo and debunk all of the claims that it makes. I don't think that either this memo or the Nunes memo are groundbreaking because, quite frankly, they don't tell us anything that we didn't already largely know.
Right.
But I felt like we owed this a little bit of airtime since we gave time to the Nunes memo.
God, yeah, for talking about that joke of a memo.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid memos. Memos.
I know.
I'm going to make my own memo.
The thing that's so funny about this is the Nunes memo was not redacted at all. And the FBI and the DOJ were really pissed off about that memo because they claimed that it does have some confidential information that they really didn't want released to the public at that time. The Democrats' memo, however, is heavily redacted. So we're going to play a little game. We've taken 3 heavily redacted sections from this memo, and we're going to try and fill in the blanks for you guys. I can't confirm whether or not we got an official copy of the memo. pretty sure we'd be shot dead if we confirmed that. So this information may or may not be true. If you're listening with us live at home, you can pull up the document for season 4, episode 8 and have a look and send us suggestions of what you think the redacted sections say. So I'll go ahead and start. I'm going to read the section with the redactions first, and then I'm going to fill in the blanks. So this says, pages redacted in Moscow with redacted senior Russian officials, redacted, as well as meetings with Russian officials, redacted. So y'all ready for this? This is...
Yeah, give us the scoop.
Yeah, this is a bombshell. Page's intergalactic furry sex ring in Moscow with 12 senior Russian officials was found to be in negotiations with the Trump campaign for renting space at a planned Trump Tower hotel in Moscow, as well as meeting with Russian officials to determine the appropriate number of shirtless Vladimir Putin portraits to be displayed at said furry sex ring meetings.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's
Paige knows
big.
how to decorate.
You know, and I thought the PP tapes were bad, but this is the real news.
I can't wait to see John King cover that.
All right, Andrew has one.
Yeah, so as early as blank, a Russian intelligence officer, blank, targeted Paige for recruitment. Paige showed blank. Here's the exclusive. As early as 2013, a Russian intelligence officer knew the P-tape existed and targeted Paige for recruitment. Paige showed his wang to Donald before Donald decided Carter was girthy enough to pee on the girls.
So Paige was the one who did the pee-pee?
Yes, in the intergalactic space meeting.
And girth is a factor.
Yeah, I wonder how that decides that. Is this, hang on, we have 50% of our panel have penises. Does that actually make a difference?
When if you're girthy, you got more muscles in there, so you can kind of spray harder when you want.
I don't know, because I have no way of comparing it.
You've never had a pee party where you all pee on each other?
Well, not where we detach each other's penises and try it and see how one flows better than the other.
Whoa. We're not talking fire hoses here.
I think we're going to need another memo.
I think
that's the only way we're going to know.
Millennial memo.
We're going to need another penis.
All right, and we do have a final one here.
I'll give it a go. George Papadopoulos revealed, redacted, that individuals linked to Russia who took interest in Papadopoulos as a Trump campaign policy advisor informed him in late April 2016 that Russia redacted. George Papadopoulos revealed in an accidental Vine clip that individuals linked to Russia who took interest in Papadopoulos as a Trump campaign foreign policy advisor informed him in late April 2016 that Russia had tried to force him to become a nuclear arms mule, implanting condoms full of nuclear waste in his ass.
In a leaked Vine video.
Oh, that's perfect.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
So we know that this must have happened pre-2015 because Vine still existed.
I don't fucking know, Laura. I'm not one of your fancy millennials.
I mean, we're just reading the report as it came to us. So assuming that anyone who is in any way connected to this, if you don't want this to be the official account of what these redactions say, I think you should release the real one. Please.
Absolutely. I like this one.
All right. Well, moving on. We have a new sponsor this week, HelloFresh, and I was able to try them out. What got my attention right away was how convenient it is. All the ingredients come pre-measured in handy labeled meal kits, so you know which ingredients go with which recipe. This was really great for me because I have a really busy lifestyle and I didn't need to worry about planning dinner, spending money on takeout, or gathering the necessary ingredients to make something other than mac and cheese or frozen pizza, which is my usual go-to.
Same.
I also loved the variety of what HelloFresh sent me to try. kimchi tacos, pesto flatbread, and Mediterranean baked veggies. As someone who tries to avoid meat most of the time, but often feels like they run out of inspiration for preparing vegetarian dishes, these meals gave me things to cook that I never would have thought of on my own, which was made easy by the pictured step-by-step instruction cards that accompanied each meal. Elisa, I know you've used HelloFresh in the past with your boyfriend. Mark and I used my order together and had a lot of fun putting together a pretty snazzy looking meal. What have you and Brian liked the most about HelloFresh?
So Brian and I have been doing HelloFresh for, I mean, really since I met him. So, a year and a half. Regardless of this advertisement or anything, we've just always loved HelloFresh. And a lot of it is what you said, so fucking convenient. But my favorite part about it, really two things. One is it kind of forces you to cook with your partner. And I think it's great. It's a great bonding experience. Like after work, instead of sitting down, turning on the television and ignoring each other, you go into the kitchen and you're actually doing an activity. And we talk and drink while we cook, and we're able to do that because we don't have to focus so much on measuring everything out or what step comes next. It's all like right there in front of you, which I love. But the second reason I like HelloFresh so much is because you really learn how to cook. And you learn a lot of new recipes and little secrets to things that carry over into meals that aren't even HelloFresh's. So I learned how important, for instance, acid is in food, like having lemon or some kind of acid mixed in. And now I do that on like all my fucking meals, and it's a game changer. So anyway, it's a cool service. Like it's totally been worth it.
Yeah, I agree. My favorite recipe was the pesto flatbread. It was basically the perfect size personal pizza loaded up with zucchini, pesto, broccolini, sun-dried tomatoes, and garlic. It was so easy to put together, as Elisa said, and it looked so fucking good when it was finished. When I took pictures, yeah, dude, I think I sent you a picture of it.
You did. I was about to say, it's like Instagram worthy. Every meal is, I'm not even one of those people that takes pictures of my food until I started making HelloFresh. And I'm like, I have to show everyone now.
Yeah, I know. It made me feel super accomplished because some of the people I sent pictures of it to asked where I had ordered it from. And I was like, oh, I just made that.
Yeah, don't tell them. I lie, and I said that I invented this.
Well, for your convenience and for you to be able to tell your friends what you've invented, HelloFresh offers 3 plans to choose from: classic, veggie, and family. And for all of us busy millennials, includes a 20-minute meal on the classic menu once a week for when you really don't have tons of time for meal prep. I know a lot of our listeners have young kids and are starting families, so I also wanted to mention their kid-tested recipe, easy peasy ravioli gratin with spinach, thyme, and Parmesan breadcrumbs.
That's a long ass title.
Say what?
That's a long ass title.
It is, but it's worth it. Millennial listeners can get a special offer for their first week of HelloFresh by going to HelloFresh.com and entering promo code Millennial30 for $30 off your first week of HelloFresh. That's HelloFresh.com and enter code Millennial30.
It's time to deliver Matt some goodbyes in a convenient box. Last week, we asked people to call in to the voicemail line, which is a Patreon benefit. And you ready, Matt? You got your tissues out?
God.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'll take that. Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Hi, Matt and the rest of Millennial. I just wanted to wish Matt the best luck ever. And I'm looking forward to hearing about his progress through school. And I hope that he gives himself a break every once in a while because nursing school is super hard. And I wish you the best of luck, Matt.
That listener has a child.
Yeah. And it sounded like the child was crying in the background, like mourning the loss of Matt.
Oh, yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Matt, I just wanted to say you will be missed and good luck on your journey to become a nurse. Become the Greg House nursing. And just so you know, I don't completely blame you for 9/11.
That is the nicest thing I think anybody has ever said to me.
Wow.
That was thoughtful. I still blame you for 9/11.
I still blame myself.
All right, here's another one.
Hi, Millennial. This is Angel. I'm calling from Austin right now, but I am from Seattle. And I just wanted to say goodbye to Matt. I'm sad that he'll be leaving the show, but I'm really excited for him that he will be pursuing a new dream. And I'm very confident that he will be a great nurse. Matt was my first podcast crush back in the day, and I actually met him on the Twilight imprint tour like 10 years ago, and we have a photo together where he is hugging me, and so I just wanted to thank him for being so sweet when I met him, and yeah, wish him the best in the future. Speak to you guys soon. Bye-bye.
We heard a lot about how nice of a person Matt is in real life.
Yeah. Elise is laughing because she knows the truth. It's all a lie.
I remember when Matt was nice to me. That was before we were friends.
Yeah, I think that was like a Tuesday or something.
If Matt's nice to you, then that's how you know you're not real close yet.
That's
all right. Here's another one. This person's long. They get real honest. It looks like.
Hi guys. I hope this is actually the right number for the millennial voicemail. This is Betty calling. You guys surprise bitched me like not that long ago. But anyways, I wanted to call in because I know Matt's leaving, and he is, no offense to any of the other hosts, but he's probably one of my favorites because I just think he is so underrated. Matt always has these like really funny random anecdotes that I feel like sometimes he'll say them and like they kind of go unnoticed on the show, but they have me cracking up, and sometimes you guys like won't even acknowledge some of the shit Matt says, and it leaves me dying. But one of my favorite Matt moments was when he told Andrew, I don't think you were on the show, but it was when he was telling the story about some robber that like climbed up his apartment window or something and ended up like dying in his garage somehow because he fell out of a tree, and then like I don't know if he bled out or what.
Yeah.
But not that that's like a funny story or anything, but the way he started it, like it was just like something that happened, and Lauren and Lisa were just like listening like it was a regular story, and then he got to the end where like the guy died and just like so nonchalant about it. I was kind of cracking up over it. Anyways, it's not gonna be the same without you, Matt, and I hope you have good luck in your future endeavors, and I love all four of you guys. All right, bye.
That was great. I was really curious to see where she was going with this story because it was a very dark story.
Somebody didn't die though, right?
Yeah, he died.
Oh, okay.
The great thing is that's exactly how you said it when you first talked about the story on the show.
All right, I got two more. Here's a short one.
My name's Catherine, and my favorite Matt millennial moment is when the hosts had to write in confessionals about themselves, and Matt just wrote, "I'm high as a kite," and signed it off with his own name.
Yes.
Here's the last one we received, and this one's kind of eerie.
Oh.
Hey, Millennial. I'm Sarah from Fullerton, California. Matt, I just wanted to...
Let me pause right there. That's why it's eerie. Fullerton, California. That's where we used to live. Matt and I. The fuck? Okay.
Yeah.
And say that I'm truly going to miss you being a regular host. I've always looked forward to hearing your take on things. I'm just going to miss hearing your voice so much. One of my favorite moments of you on the show was back in season 2 when you came up with the Game of Moans, which basically led to everyone inventing new sex positions like the snapping turtle. Anyway, I wish you all the luck with nursing, and hopefully we'll hear you on the show every now and then. Bye.
That was great. I loved that game. That game was great.
Some people wrote in with some emails as well. This is from Kaylee. First off, I would like to say that I love you all. I've been a dedicated listener since the beginning of Imprint. My junior high self totally had a crush on Matt and was so bummed when I realized we batted for the same team. Matt has always been such a light on the show. He always had me laughing. I'm so sad to see him go, but I totally understand considering I've taken those classes and they are rough. Your kind, joyful spirit will make you an amazing nurse. I hope to hear from you every once in a while as a guest. Best wishes.
Oh, thank you. That's really sweet. God,
This one's from Heidi. This one's from Heidi. Matt, as a listener from the beginning, thank you for never failing to make me smile and laugh. I love your bubbly nature and your self-confidence and how you come across as a genuine what you see is what you get person. I'm going to miss hearing you on the show, but I appreciate that school must come first. I wish you every success in your future career, and I hope you're able to come back on. P.S. The picture used on Facebook to ask for messages was gorgeous. Not ashamed to say I still have a bit of a crush on you.
Gross.
Yeah, that picture was Matt in the Capitol at sunset overlooking the Washington Mall.
Where the fuck were we?
DC. Was overlooking the Republic before Trump.
I know, but I mean
took over.
but there's like an actual name for that patio or veranda, right?
The rotunda, the patio that Olivia and that guy from Scandal make out on. Something like that.
That's the official name, yes.
That's it. That's what historians call it.
That's it.
Finally, not finally, Becky says, I know it's not really goodbye because we expect you to be a guest host often, but I will miss hearing your voice and laughter and all the positivity you bring to the show. When I first met you in Orlando in 2010 for the imprint tour, one of your co-hosts told me, Matt is one of the most genuinely nice, sweet, positive people you will ever meet. He's just a wonderful person, end quote. And I found that to be true in listening to you over the years. Keep on being you. Who spread that rumor?
I wonder who said that.
I think it was Andrew.
I think it was Emerson. And then
He was not there.
No.
And finally, Jasmine wrote a haiku for Matt. Laura, would you like to read it? You have a peaceful voice that matches it.
Oh, okay. All hail Matt Britton.
Yes.
Farewell, dear Sir Matt Britton. Nurse well, Matt Britton.
That's it?
That's it.
It's a haiku.
Oh, it's a haiku. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, no Shel Silverstein poems for you. Well, Matt, this is the end until after dark. But for now, this is the end. Do you have any final words of wisdom to spread to our listeners who describe you as a wonderful person, a nice person, a haiku-worthy person?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has listened to the show. It's never ceased to amaze me how many of you guys have followed us on our podcasting journey, I guess, since the very beginning. I want to even thank the people who stopped listening and have absolutely no fucking idea what's going on right now. So all you assholes too. I truly consider everybody that all the listeners, I consider them more friends than actual like people who just listen to the show. I know I've stayed in touch with some of you for years now. And it's been truly incredible watching some of you become respectable adults by no help from us. I can tell you that. I have to say I find it very gratifying to hear that my humor has been, appreciated and even understood at times. It's not an easy thing. I'll say that. This community this podcasting area has been such an integral part of my life, and I don't think I'm ready to close the book on it just yet. But if by chance it is, I want to make sure that I say goodbye to you in some fashion. I have the utmost confidence in you two, or you three. There's three of you. Yeah, there's three of you. The most confidence that you guys will be continuing the show without me. I've no doubt you'll keep it as amazing and as funny, I guess, without me. I don't know. But I just want to wish everyone listening to this the absolute best, and I will never forget those of you who have stuck with us, and I will always think of you. You'll stick with me like a scar, ugly and permanent.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, and that I
truly
have
mean
to
that last
say,
part.
you've left an impression on the show too. And I mean, we've all been podcasting together for so long, but I know, as we said before, this is a bittersweet moment, but I don't know. I'm just so fucking happy for you.
Yeah, it
think
is bittersweet.
Yeah, like you're gonna do great things.
Oh God. I mean, now that everyone's said it, now it's like I actually have to do it.
Yeah, the pressure's on. No, we all love you, Matt. We are absolutely sad to see you go. It's been sad just, hearing your goodbye and hearing everybody else say goodbye to you. But I'm glad to hear that you had an impact on so many of our listeners. And yeah, you're gonna be missed.
You're not gonna, you really are an irreplaceable voice on this show. I mean, there's just no way you have such a unique personality that, and I know that sounds condescending and trite, and I don't mean it to. I'm being serious. You have such a unique personality that it's like, there's no one like you that I've ever known in my life, let alone on a show. So I do hope that we bring you back on at some point for an update, and I'm sure we'll hear from you again. But all joking aside, you're an asshole, but you're an awesome person, and I love you.
Thank you.
You're our asshole, Matt.
I'm your bleached asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just sad to say. It's really weird to say goodbye because it doesn't feel like I'm saying goodbye.
I get that.
We love you so much. We would let you be our dungeon master. That's how much you mean to us.
And send in those DMs, guys.
I can't imagine
episode being our dungeon master.
I can't imagine the story Matt would put together for us. I just can't imagine.
Elisa suffocates under a pile of styrofoam.
Yeah, he fucking kills me first. That's for sure.
No, I wouldn't kill anybody. I mean, it would be like S&M instead of D&M or D&D.
Okay.
But
D&D.
We're not done with Matt just yet. In After Dark today, we are going to talk a little more about this, the growing abandonment of circumcision and how our parental norms are changing from our parents' generation to ours. So we're going to talk about how we, I guess, plan to parent once we have kids. And Elisa also has some sort of revelation about burping. I think this is going to be one of those oddball stories that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
so I'm looking
really
forward
is.
to that.
It is, but I swear it's revelatory.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'm Andrew.
I'm Elisa.
I'm Laura.
Oh, no, I'm still here.
He's gone.
And I'm Matt.
Goodbye, Matt. Goodbye, everybody.
Oh,
Bye.
We remember all the times we had together, and as our lives change from whatever, we will still be friends forever.
La 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 la.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
All right.
that
Enough
was
of
like
that.
legit fucking sad. I hate you.
That was sad.
God damn it.
What? Were you not expecting it to be sad? What the fuck?
No, I wasn't.
Canella's crying. She's sitting here next to me going,
I think she's crying for different reasons.
yeah, I think she has to pee.
All
I
right.
think she's crying because her name is Canella.
Oh my God.
Excuse you.
All right.
Get off the show. You're fired. Go away.
Let's start. Isn't this playing? Good way to start the show. Why is this playing? Why isn't this playing? All right, we get a little more of Matt here. Matt, you've raised the bar for yourself, so you better be real good here in After Dark.
Okay.
What was your story about burping, Elisa? What revelation did you have?
All right. First of all, for those who don't know, I can't burp. Never in my life have I been able to burp. I can count on one hand the number of times it's happened by sheer accident, and it hasn't even been a proper burp. Like, it's been so subtle and so small that if you were sitting right next to me, you wouldn't even hear it.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Just wait.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
You mean you're unable to burp on cue, or are you unable to burp, period?
I am unable to burp, period. And I can count on one hand the number of times that I have burped by accident. I think I've burped by accident maybe 3 times in my entire life. And they've been so small that you wouldn't even notice them. I only noticed it because I felt it, and it was like the clouds parting and God shining upon me. It felt so incredible. But I can't burp, and it's awful because I feel the bubble. I feel like the bubble, the pressure in like the bottom of my throat, like in the top of my chest, and I need to burp so bad, and I can't. And I can feel it giving me indigestion, and the gas turns into like a gas bubble, and it's awful. And I've never been able to do it. Everyone always makes fun of me, and it's completely inexplicable. But I found out after, 30 years on this planet that I am not alone, and that there's an actual medical reason why this happens. And apparently it's a thing. There is a percentage of the population that cannot physically burp. I always thought it was something wrong with me. Like, I always thought it was something that I could control, but just never learned how. I've had my boyfriend and other friends try and give me lessons on how to burp, and I've actually sat there, practiced it. I've watched YouTube videos, and I can't get it to happen. So I did some research, and I found out it's a known thing. And apparently, and here's the fun part, apparently the muscle in your esophagus that controls burping is a sphincter, just like your butt.
I can take yours.
Just like your butt. I don't have good luck with sphincters. Just like your butt is a sphincter, like the muscle that controls like your swallowing and your burping is a sphincter. And here's the key: when you swallow, the sphincter automatically and naturally opens to let the food and whatever down. But in order to burp, it has to open in the other direction. For most people, that's not an issue. It's not even something you really have to think about. You can just make it happen. But for some people, your sphincter will only open in one direction.
Wow.
Meaning, for me, my sphincter will only open in the direction that allows me to swallow food. It will not open in the direction that allows gas to exit, which is why I can't burp. It's like an actual physical medical deformity with my sphincter.
But then where does the gas go?
It goes back down into my stomach and comes out as a fart from the other sphincter.
No, that can't be true.
No, I'm super fucking serious. And the only way, well, there's a couple of ways that you can get this treated, but the most common way to get this treated apparently is by getting Botox injections in your sphincter, like the one in your throat, not in your butt.
Oh.
Because the whole problem is that your sphincter will not relax enough in the direction of burping. And so Botox injections relax muscular tissue. And so they inject Botox into your sphincter, and it lasts for about a month. And for one glorious month, you can burp.
Well, first of all, I'm so sorry to hear of your condition. It is very satisfying to burp. I frequently burp before recording the show because I'm usually just eating beforehand. Have you considered getting surgery to fix this abnormality?
And you get surgery from this?
Well, you can get the Botox would be, I think, the most common solution. Most folks don't bother with it because it's a little invasive. You have to go under general anesthesia to get it done. So honestly, I just discovered this past weekend. It all happened because I was talking to a friend who's a nurse, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this is a thing." And then I didn't believe her, so I looked it up. And I just couldn't believe that like my sphincter's broken. And that's what it is. I always thought that no one had ever taught it to me right. And so it was just a matter of me learning it, but apparently I'm physically incapable.
Damn.
Yeah.
How are you coping with that, Elisa?
Are you okay?
I don't know.
I feel kind of sad because like when I have like stomach issues or just like when I have a stomach ache, like inducing a burp just automatically helps me feel a little better.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're a lost cause. So sorry.
Yeah. No, I know. It's in joking aside, it really does suck. And that's sort of what inspired me to talk to my friend about it and to research it, because I've found that the older I'm getting, the worse it gets. And it's causing like real indigestion. Sometimes when the gas bubble, I can't get it up. I feel the burp in there. I can't make it happen. So I actually physically feel it going back down into my stomach. And it gives me a cramp. It causes a cramp. The same way that, if you're really gassy, but it just hasn't come out yet, and your stomach kind of cramps and you feel like you have to double over.
It's there, but you just
know
can't
it's
get
there,
it out.
but exactly. That's what happens because I can't burp. And so over the weekend I had it happen. I was like doubled over in pain, all because I can't burp and my sphincter's fucked up.
I wonder if like you're gonna be able to you're gonna stop farting one day, and then like you're gonna have all this gas building up inside of you, and you're just gonna like pop.
If past
Oh my God.
If past is prologue, I'm not going to have any trouble
Spontaneous
farting.
combustion.
Past is prologue. Wow.
Yeah, I can fart with the best of them. That's not an issue.
Oh yeah, we're not arguing that.
We've all slept with you. We know.
Yeah, you guys know.
There have been times where I was like, I didn't know you had a massage bed.
This was like a couple of weeks ago. I woke up in the morning and my boyfriend rolls over and was like, "You were farting a lot in your sleep."
Ew.
Oh, it's so bad.
Ugh.
I'm sorry.
No. Well, maybe we can teach these lessons to our children one day.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
That was my
pivot into this.
transition. That's
Yeah.
the best I got.
That's fine. I thought, okay. Listen, I thought that our conversation about circumcision and how, there's starting to be this subtle but sure trend of abandoning the practice of circumcision. I thought that could inspire a conversation about how parental norms in general are changing. Our generation, has some unique challenges as millennials, and we're facing some unique moral quandaries as millennials, such as circumcision. So kind of going off of that general theme, I want to talk about what we think or what we've observed, has changed. How are parents changing their approach to parenting? What makes us different from our parents? And we can start with the obvious, since it's related to circumcision. We care less about instilling religion in our children. That's not anecdotal. That's not me speaking for myself. I don't have kids, obviously. I'm saying that statistically, it's proven that millennials really are the least religious generation to date, at least in this particular country. And we're not passing religion on, certainly not structured religion on, to our children in near the numbers that our parents did, for example. And I'm kind of curious as to why that is. We know that that's true. We know that that's fact. But why is that? And like, I've never really seen a coherent answer.
I think for me, it's just low on the totem pole of priorities in life. When you have to work a job long hours, when you have to study long hours, maybe you have side jobs as well. Maybe you got to balance work with life. You just don't have time to fit religion. And I think a lot of people don't see the value in it, what they're getting out of it. That said, I'm sure many of our listeners are religious, do go to church every week or once a month or some sort of are on some sort of regular schedule. And that's fine. A lot of people find a lot of motivation in religion and attending a gathering. So I think that for most people, the reason there's this trend is it's just people don't see a reason to prioritize it in their life. I know with my family, we used to go every Saturday, and that declined. My dad still insists going on holidays. But other than that, that's all, because we're doing other things too on the weekends.
I also think the internet has a lot to do with the fact that we don't, or our generation is not as religious, because I think we just had a much larger access to the world and the things that are going on, and it gave us the freedom to like ask questions and try to get our own view on things instead of strictly what our parents were teaching us and our community, such as our churches, values. So I think the internet has a good hand in that.
I think it's education too. It has been well proven that there is a strong correlation between highly educated people not being quite as religious, or at least not participating in organized religious practices, and we are the most educated generation to date. So I think that factors in too.
Yeah, I can see that. I also think that, at least for me, at least, I don't know. I think it gets distilled over each generation. Like I can see how my grandparents were very by the book religious, going to church on a regular basis. And then my parents kind of took that and they still went to church, but not on a regular basis, just occasionally. Then I took that and I said, no, I'm not going to go at all. And it all just kind of got watered down throughout time. I think there's a sort of natural evolution that happens with something like this.
See, my parents are atheists, so I never had the childhood church upbringing that most of my peers had.
Yeah.
So I don't have any frame of reference for the tradition.
I had the church thing growing up, but I think the gay thing kind of helped me from, deferring away from it.
You disconnected when their views didn't match your own.
Right. I disconnected when I found out that I was, going to hell. And that just didn't really sit well with me. So I kind of looked into other aspects.
I do have to say, that raises a good point, though, Matt, that I do wonder how much being a multicultural, diverse, increasingly diverse country contributes to the shunning of organized religion. Because I do feel like when, older generations didn't have access to the same kinds of diversity that we have. I grew up with friends from all different backgrounds, all different sexual orientations. And so for me, the idea that there was just one true God, one true religion, and everything fit into a neat, tidy box did not fit my experience, because my experience told me that there were such good, awesome, moral people from other boxes. And that kind of led me to de facto shun the whole idea of boxes in general. And I was like, fuck this. This doesn't make any sense to me. And if you're going to tell me that, for example, people I love and care about are going to hell, I'm going to tell you to shove it, because that doesn't jive. It doesn't make sense to me. And I think probably, a lot of folks coming out as gay, and us having to reconcile that with religion some folks decided to abandon religion rather than abandon their family and friends, and that's probably a contributing factor.
Yeah, I mean, it did. It absolutely did. Just like while I was figuring out myself, I would be listening to the sermons, and like some of the if I followed like all the rules of like being an upright citizen and loving thy neighbor and everything, and I would be a good person and going to hell. But then when I found out who I was and what that was viewed as, like I was basically viewed as like the antagonist, or one of the like so-called, I won't say enemies, but like the people who I was supposed to be on the other side trying to fight or defend for God's word. And so it didn't matter, because in the end I am the person that's wrong, or I'm the person that's the on the other side, and I'm like, well, fuck that, because I'm not a bad person. So then why am I immediately going to hell for this?
Yeah, and I mean, when I was a kid, when I was in prime recruitment age for religion, I felt like I was shunned by a lot of my friends and their families because my family was non-religious. So I was like, well, fuck that. Like, if you guys are just going to shun me from the outset, I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, and the next thing I thought was interesting about our generation, our parenting style, was I feel that, and maybe this is a generalization, but we are speaking in generalizations. I feel that we're more strict and simultaneously more involved with our children and with parenting. And again, I don't have kids, but I'm saying that I remember, for example, I was allowed to run around my neighborhood free with really not a very serious curfew, probably starting around the age of 13. And I'd be out all hours of the night, and I'd just run around, do my own thing. I checked in once in a while, I guess. And that was really considered normal among myself and my peers and everyone I went to school with. That was the norm. And even more so for my parents. I mean, they really just did their own thing, and that was sort of okay. That was socially acceptable to see a 13-year-old running around with their friends, on skateboards or whatever by themselves. That was normal. And I kind of feel like that's becoming less normal. I kind of feel like parents want to have a closer eye on their kids, and now curfews are more stringently imposed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to run around the neighborhood at 9 o'clock at night, after the sun's gone down, you can't be 13 anymore. Now you have to be maybe 16 or 17 to really get away with that. And maybe I'm crazy. This is one of those things that's not backed by data. This is just my observation. What do you guys think?
I agree with that to a point. But I do think it largely depends on the parents, the area that you're in, your parents' upbringing. I mean this lovingly, Elisa. I see your parents kind of as hippies. Like, they're super laid back types of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I can totally see them letting you run all over at all times of day. My parents let me be out and about in the neighborhood as well. Probably a curfew around 10 or so, but this was just in the local neighborhood or the neighborhood next door. I think if parents are becoming more strict or involved, it might be the media getting to them. If it bleeds, it leads. You see terrible stories happening on the news all the time, and I think it scares people. And also related to this, and to suggest that you might be right, is just how we bring up kids, particularly when they're babies. The safety measures in place now for things like the booster seats in cars, or the seats at the kitchen table, they're all super heavy duty now. They were so different back in the 60s or 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So in that regard, yes, but
And I'm not even saying that it's necessarily a bad thing or a negative thing, certainly not in all cases. But I do think it's true that like parenting now is a more regulated activity. It's a more regulated affair. I mean, even thinking about things like Kinder eggs, which have been banned in the United States because children choke on them. That's a relatively new thing. And now it started this whole trend of banning certain toys and things like that children could potentially choke on, and parents are freaking out about child-proofing every single door on their house and every cabinet. And again, I'm not saying that is a bad thing. I think that's perfectly valid and probably a great thing. But that definitely was not how I grew up. I grew up gnawing on the fucking doors right next to the Windex, and no one gave a shit. You know what I mean? And now though, I do have friends with kids, and the first thing they do is go out and childproof every single cabinet door.
Yeah.
They put like the little the plastic or rubber things over top of the electrical sockets, and there's just this, I feel like the parenting as a millennial has become so much more safety centric. And for myself growing up, there was a certain amount of that, but certainly we did not worry about the electrical outlets. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
I bet social media. Sorry, real quick. So I said media, but social media too. You read on Facebook these horror stories about what happens to kids, or like on BuzzFeed, 10 tips to make your home a safe place for children.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think it's the level of connectedness too. I mean, when we were kids, we didn't have cell phones. There was no way for our parents to keep track of us other than taking us at our word that we were where we said we were. I know that my parents were pretty relaxed about letting me be out and around the neighborhood as long as I was with my friends. They never wanted me out running around by myself, but they knew my friends, they trusted my friends, and they trusted that we were going to be safe together. I think now that we have devices where parents can text and call their kids and also have like GPS location to see where their kids are at all times, I think that plays into it, certainly. I also think that there is a perception, true or not, I don't know that it's a correct perception, but that the world isn't as safe as it used to be. And I think that that plays into it as well.
I totally agree. I was going to say that I think that social media and the 24-hour news cycle in particular has really lent itself to this idea the world is not a safe place. And it makes it so easy for a story about a kidnapping, a single kidnapping in, Idaho, to make its way all the way to Massachusetts and Florida. And because it blows up and it becomes viral. And the ability for scary, traumatizing stories to go viral, I think has really terrified folks. And I don't have all the numbers pulled up in front of me, but it's very well established that actually today we're safer than ever before. That in general, violence is at an all-time low. There's less war, there's less famine. The median income has gone up. There's less poverty. So we're actually in a much better place today, and yet we're more terrified today. And I do think that that is owed to the viral way of the internet.
Yeah. No one really wants to hear about all the good things, and it's sad to say, but it really is. Like we have become so accustomed to hearing all like what's wrong with our country, or what's wrong with the world, or what we're not doing right and what we should do to fix it. And
yeah, and I think that it translates into parents being afraid, and sometimes as a result of being afraid, being overly cautious or very protective. One good thing, though, I think is that our generation does right as regards parenting is that we value effort more than we value success. And we get made fun of a lot for this with the whole idea of participation trophies. And I understand why that's an easy punchline. And sometimes it definitely is over the top. No question about it. But in general, I think that valuing effort over success is a good thing, because not everyone's situations are created equally. You take a child, for instance, growing up in, a impoverished household where there's an absent parent, and then you take someone else who's incredibly privileged and has a nuclear family unit, and they're not going to succeed in the same ways or the same levels, and nor should they be expected to. But if they're both trying in their own individual capacities as well as they can, that is what we should value. And I think that that's something I've seen my friends try to really instill in their kids is, did you try? Did you do the best you possibly could? Then I don't really care if you got a C+ on that quiz. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, and I think also that teaches kids that failure is okay and that it's a thing that happens sometimes. It is part of life.
I mean, it is necessary, actually. You don't know how to learn or adapt if you've never failed before.
Gives them character.
Ugh. But then, I mean, our generation has also been responsible for a lot of hippy-dippy bullshit. Let's be real.
That's true.
So, like, Elisa mentioned the anti-vaxxer movement in here in her notes.
Yeah, I do feel like we have to take responsibility for that, right? Like, as a generation, I mean, it's primarily millennials, I think, who are sort of promulgating that, and the whole idea that vaccines lead to autism and what have you. I see a lot of folks in their early mid 30s who are first time parents, either don't know any better or willfully ignorant, and they let, once again, the viral nature of fake news kind of get to them. And and they don't believe science anymore the way that previous generations did. You know, when my grandparents, when the polio vaccine came out, it was a godsend, and no one thought to themselves, you know what, I might risk it. I'm gonna go with polio. Like, everyone lined up for it. And today we have to have campaigns to get people to take their kids to get vaccinated. So that's something I feel like we are fucking up.
That's because our generation has this tendency to think that every institution is corrupt and rigged.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well,
everything from politics to science to healthcare. It's all rigged. It's like, come on, guys, no.
And there's the fake news craze. So you read one article about vaccinations being bad for your kid, and then you suddenly believe it.
Yeah, so those were just some of the major ways I've seen some significant shifts happening in parenting styles. I mean, is there anything else you guys have noticed a difference between the way you were raised and your friends are raising their kids?
No, I think Matt mentioned, or Laura, the cell phones. That seems to be the biggest way things are changing right now, because that opens the door for so many things, like tracking your child, being in communication with your child, the way the child learns about the world, what he or she does on his phone. That and safety, I'd say, are the biggest changes.
I feel like I'm also seeing a few of my friends making changes in regards to gender identity. Not so much swinging to the end of the spectrum where, like, I know some parents are stepping back from even assigning their child a gender. None of my friends have done that, but they're doing things like not encouraging their girls to play with certain toys because those are, quote, for girls, or dressing their boys in blue because they're boys and that's a boy color. You know, so I feel like our generation is taking a more gender neutral approach to child rearing.
Yeah.
Yes, and thank God for that.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank God for that. I'm glad you pointed that out, because one of my close friends, Rebecca, just had her first child, and she found out it was a girl and really had to fight her parents and her whole parents' generation to not buy all of the clothes in pink. Their first instinct, like, they threw her a baby shower and everything was in pink and yellow. She got all these clothes and baby blankets. All of them were pink and full of flowers. And it really, I watched it actually really affect her, my friend. It really affected Rebecca, because I think she was seeing for the first time how early those stereotypes and boxing in, how early that begins. I mean, literally before you're born. And she got emotionally upset because she talked to her dad and was like, "Listen, I love you, but You got to stop. Everything that you buy for her is all flowers and Barbie dolls. And why don't you get her something else? Get her a book. I mean, anything, you know? And her dad was like, oh, I'm more traditional and whatever. And she's like, yeah, but it's my kid. And I am asking you to please not give her, he literally asked at her baby shower, do they make easy bake ovens anymore? And and she looked at me like she was gonna freak out. So I went out of my way to try and like get her some I got her some like science-y stuff. I got her like a baby blanket with like rocket ships on it and stuff. And I don't know. To your point, you're right. This is a long-winded way of saying you're right. I think that does matter more to us.
Agreed.
So how about us as parents?
Oh God.
Not doing it.
What are we going to do differently?
This is all you.
So something that always bothered me growing up was how my parents shielded me from quote unquote inappropriate content. And something that always sticks with me is when I had a birthday party, it was a sleepover at my place with me and my friends, and my friends wanted to watch South Park. We were like, I don't know, 13, 14. All the other kids had seen South Park and they wanted to watch because I guess there was a new episode airing that night. But my dad did not let us. And I felt so embarrassed as a kid. Like, oh, suddenly my dad's not cool. He's not letting us watch South Park, which all the kids want to watch. And that really puts a damper on your own birthday party. But that's just one small example of just a pattern when I was being brought up. My parents, particularly my dad, was paranoid about shielding me from the nudity in Titanic, South Park, any sort of cursing on television or in movies. And when I have a kid, hopefully, I will let them be exposed to that type of media, not always seeing the best news, seeing some dramatic story that's going on. Like my dad was always hiding the OJ trial from us. If somebody got murdered, that's of course a serious, tough story, but you can't shield your kid from quote unquote inappropriate entertainment or news. You have to expose them to the various parts of the world that are bad in your mind. So I'm going to raise my child as it's a weird way to say it, but as an adult. Like my dad never gave me the birds and the bees talk. I feel like that's a rite of passage, but I never heard that. I think it's because he deemed it inappropriate for me to learn at any age. So I had to learn about sex by myself.
Right, which kind of stunts you a little bit, right?
Exactly.
You're not being prepared and armed with the knowledge from the people that you trust the most.
Yeah.
And that further leads to stigmatizing sexuality, and it makes you feel bad about having questions about it and makes you wonder if there's something wrong with you for being curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my kid's going to be exposed to the dirty stuff like this podcast.
Like FamilyDick.com?
Yeah,
I think one of the things that when I have kids, one of the things that I have maintained, at least I've still vehemently agree on is I don't want to compare my parents raising me to me raising my kid. I know it's a common thing for a lot of people, a lot of young parents especially, who want to, do all the things that their parents didn't do for them. And it's probably the same thing for what their parents did for them. And so on and so on. But I think if I keep doing that, then I will glaze over or skip over some of the things that I would have done differently had I just allowed myself to make a decision based off of what I feel or what I think. So I'm just gonna screw my kids up and take all the credit.
Here's a scary question. Will we let our children know about Millennial Podcast? Will we let them listen?
Eventually.
You're going to sit them down and say, hey, I talked about getting diamonds stuck up my butt on a podcast.
The thing is, I don't think they're going to want to listen. So
See, here's what you guys should do. You should send all your kids over to Auntie Laura because I actually really like kids. I just don't want my own. So I can spoil them, send them to me for the weekend. We'll build pillow forts and have sleepovers, and I'll get them all sugared up and send them home to you. But I will also play some clips from Millennial for them and be like, listen to what your mommy and daddies did back before you were born.
I don't think you want to babysit my kids.
Why?
They would tear you apart.
I'm used to it from you. Just be like little mats.
Concentrated little mats.
Elisa, how about you? What would you do with your kids? How will you bring them up?
You mean differently from my parents?
Yeah.
It's funny because when I was thinking about this earlier, I couldn't think of a whole lot of ways because I feel like my parents did a pretty good job. I like the fact that they were hippies and that they kind of let me do what I wanted. I feel like, and this is such an arrogant ass thing to say, but I really feel like I matured a lot earlier and better because of that. Like they really didn't, just like what you were saying, Andrew, they really didn't hide shit from me. And I have to admit, at the time when I was a kid, it really sucked because I felt like overexposed. I felt like overexposed to their drama sometimes, and I knew too much about like adult life at a young age. But looking back, honestly, I think they did it. I think they did it right. I think the only thing I might change is I would try not to argue in front of them so much. My parents would get into arguments, and because they didn't hide anything ever from me, that included their arguments and disagreements with one another, and that wasn't great. So I think if me and my spouse had a fight, I would try and keep that away from them as more often.
I'm so with you on that one. My dad likes to pick fights a little too often, in my opinion, and I wish I didn't hear those. That sucks.
Yeah, it does.
But I think you're right about the using the hippie phrase again. They exposed you to the real world quickly, and that is why you matured quicker. I don't think it's arrogant to say at all. It's just a good way to bring up your kids.
Yeah.
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 All right. Shall we wrap it up here then?
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think yeah.
All right. Well, our next co-host will be Matt's child.
Oh God.
In 2028.
Get to work, Matt.
I'm already doing it now.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye,
guys.
Farewell.
We should have. His outro music should have been like the Enya song from Lord of the Rings. Oh God, I really would have bawled.
Evening star.
No.
Shines down upon me.
All right. Well, thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Real.
It's been real.
It has.
It's been
I'll
fun.
talk to you like tomorrow, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
No, that's less dramatic.
You would be mistaken.
Matt's like, I'm cutting you all out now.
I'll talk to you tomorrow if you don't send your audio tonight.
Okay.
So please do that, everybody. Would really appreciate that.
Will do.
All right.
All right. Love you guys.
All right, bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.